want. You made me
It's one
want
of
it.
those, right? Well,
That's
it's
what
one
she
of the
said.
it's ooh. I mean, it's one of those things there, right, where you don't think about it for a while, and then it kind of reiterates in your mind a couple times, and you're like, I could do that right now. That's every
Yeah. Remember when they did like breakfast all day and everyone
yeah.
like we were like a proper country
Yeah.
and then they took it away. And now like, just it's not
Blasphemy.
the same.
And now Skyline has breakfast, and I don't even know what to do with myself. I haven't even had it yet. I'm scared. I don't know if I want to.
There's one by my house that
Skyline's doing breakfast?
Yes.
Oh, do they do? Yeah, they tried it out at the airport first.
Guys, Skyline for breakfast? Do you really
did
want to
it.
start your
It's
day
a
with
thing.
just ending your day?
I did it before we flew to Colorado.
I'm gonna have to do it on a day off. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah,
I'm waiting to do it on a day off.
The flight was full of Mary's family, right? So my brother-in-law and I had been talking about it for weeks leading into it. Like, we're getting the Skyline breakfast. We have to.
I don't think I would like it for the sole reason of I don't really know when I'm that incredibly drunk in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, tailgating.
That's
golf.
True. Good point. Good point.
So what are we talking? Is it just because you know how like what basically
So it's a burrito, it's eggs, hash browns, chili cheese.
Okay. And that could work. But really what I'm picturing is because for breakfast they're always just like, just throw an egg on it. And I'm just picturing a 7-way. And they're just like, we put a scrambled egg on it.
Dude, that would be nuts to fucking throw an egg on like a 3-way.
Oh, I would eat that.
A little fried egg in there.
I would eat that all day. Twice
So
on day.
we got the burrito, and then there's a breakfast coney, right? So
instead of oyster
coney,
crackers, hash browns. Come on.
Well, I'm getting there. Get ready. And then you sub hot dog wiener for sausage link, right?
Hell yeah.
So not a big adjustment there. So the breakfast 3-way is tater rounds instead of spaghetti.
So basically, it's like breakfast chili cheese fries.
Yeah, with tater tots.
Yeah, all day. I'm there.
I don't know what they got in the water down there, but I feel like the guy in the video when he shows how the chicken nuggets are made, and they're like, who wants this? And all the kids are like, me.
I do.
He like shows them how they're made, and they're all like, yeah, I'll still fucking eat them because they're chicken McNuggets. And
it's one of those things where Daddy doesn't want to
see
what
how
if
we
this
put an egg
sausage
on
is
it?
made,
And you
he just
guys
wants to
were
fucking eat it.
Yeah.
Instead of taking it as a joke, you guys were like, that's fucking genius. And it scared me for a little bit.
Brilliant.
Nope. It's brilliant. It is. I like it. I'll do it again. There's one a few miles from my house that does it right now. So I've even thought about like the gym is right by this Skyline. I've thought like, do I just ruin my day right now? Or do I save that for the weekend?
You could go to the gym and then go. That way it just cancels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to ruin my day. I had a nice workout. Do I just go ruin it? And then the whole rest of anything that I've planned for the day gets completely derailed. Because then, I'm 25 minutes into my next drive and I'm like, oh boy, we're in the danger zone. Right. And I'm in the truck a lot. So I've committed Kroger to being my convenient, because I know since I worked for Kroger for so long, I know a lot of them geographically down here. So I can hit an exit and be like, ooh, there's a Kroger here, and it's a nice one, and they have the individual bathroom, and just go in there and do what I got to do.
Just preemptively put the out of order sign up.
Yeah. Just fucking put the hazmat stickers all over the bathroom. Like, sorry, it's bad in there. It's a mess.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into last week. Last week, obviously some great matchups. We had Chiefs, Bills, fire game. Ravens, Steelers came down to the last. Packers, Bears came down to the last. A lot of divisional games. Commanders, Eagles. There was a ton of divisional matchups last week, and obviously some great games. There were obviously some blowouts. What was your guys' biggest surprise last week?
I mean, I would definitely say it's the kickers. I mean, we saw how many games decided by missed field goals. I remember having the conversation at the beginning of this year of like, how do we, slow down kickers. Like we're kicking 65-yarders with looked like at ease. And it seems like that conversation might have been a little premature. I can't believe how many, we can go down the list. You got Justin
Tucker missed 2. Evan McPherson missed 2.
Missed 2. Hopkins missed them in the Browns game. I can tell you that. Yep. We saw Aubrey miss some kicks for Dallas. But these are guys that we talk about as, some of the best. And, that can still be a huge factor in these games. I know we like to kind of poo-poo the kickers in general, but that for it all to happen in 1 week like that was definitely a surprise.
Yeah. So I think too, to kind of put a little sprinkle on this conversation, it changed
some eggs on it.
Yeah, throw some eggs on that bitch. I think it changed momentum in all the games that we're talking about here too, right?
Yeah.
Like Justin Tucker missing that first field goal, right? We're sitting in the living room and I'm like, oh shit, he's not invincible anymore, because it's kind of been he's struggled this year overall, right? And by struggled, I mean he's still kicking like somewhere around 80%, but we've been acclimated to a decade of like when he runs out on the field, you're like, well, automatic, unless he's kicking from 70, which he's gotten close enough. But yeah, like the best kicker this year is the guy that never kicked in a fucking college football game, Jake Bates. Yeah. Like that's it's crazy that he's, as of right now, I don't want to fucking jinx the guy, but he hasn't missed a field goal yet, fellas. And he's won the Lions a couple games.
God damn it, Todd.
He's had some squeakers though.
He's gonna trot out there for a 37-yarder next week, and it's just gonna fucking. It's gonna be Ohio State in the playoffs.
Kicks.
Yeah. I mean, he's won at least 3 games for the Vikings and the Texans, right? He's put up game-winning field goals there. I mean, the Lions haven't needed a lot of help offensively, so that helps him, right? That he's not really getting in a lot of high-pressure situations. But, I mean, shit, even like, obviously Greg Zuerlein's not with the Jets anymore, but like 2 years ago, he was one of the best kickers in the league.
I mean, he was a perennial kicker for the Rams for a long time.
Correct. And now he's cut, right? You're seeing it is an odd like shift. And Charlie kind of alluded to where I was kind of going to, is that all these teams with good kickers that are struggling, new long snapper. Now, I'm not saying that that's the specific reason why, right? But like Justin Tucker's got a new long snapper and a new holder. The Ravens got a new long snapper. The Cowboys have kind of had a carousel because of all the injuries and shit. So like it's weird, because I think we've talked a lot about the dynamic that these rosters have when you put them out on the field, right? And how these guys work together, they get used to each other, and you're kind of seeing that come to a weird point in special teams. So this was a weird football week though, as a whole. I feel like there was a lot of games where guys that weren't expected to be, top performer popped off. There was a couple blowouts where you're like, that doesn't make any sense. So just a weird week in the NFL.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right though. I mean, it's just like with anything, it's you get comfortable and there's a confidence that you have about you when you're out there with the same people week in and week out and you guys execute. And then when there's change to that process, there's a little bit of subconscious like questioning where it's like, okay, is the snap going to be good? Where it's like, is the hold going to be good? Like you're questioning things outside of focusing on just, hey, I just got to make good contact with this thing and we're going to put 3 points on the board. When you add those other factors in that to the thought process, it does change a few things. And it obviously led to quite a bit of faux pas from the kickers this week.
Once you miss one, you get it between your ears too. There's no denying
absolutely. It's just
those guys psych themselves out. Yeah,
Aaron, you get into a zone where you rhythm hitting good shots, and all you gotta do is blade one. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, but seriously, it's just wild to me how it all seemed to happen at once across the league. It's just
absolutely.
You don't see it like that. You see some people get the yips or something, but man, that's a wild week to see so many like that.
Yeah.
Also, I haven't been on in a couple weeks. It's good to see everyone's name back here too.
Right.
So recapping last week's picks, Tez number 1 again across the board, 11-3. Well done, sir.
Damn.
Todd, you and Tez are tied for the best record. 111-55. You guys are absolutely crushing it. Like, you guys are tearing it up. So yeah, you guys, Tez went 11-3. Tez and Pops both went 11-3. So kudos to you guys last week. Ariel and Todd went 10-4. We had 8-6, and that was Josh. Aaron and Josh went 8-6, and then it was 7-7s across the board. So me, Corey, and Ryan 7-7. So tough week for most of us. Obviously, there's a few of you guys that absolutely crushed it. Well done. Todd, you've got the lead on the panel. I'm in second at 101-65. Corey's in third at 166. And Aaron, you're at 97-69. So
yeah, it's not my year, man. We're starting to take chances is the problem.
I'm telling you,
Right.
man, it's
Flyers.
it's not really at this point a battle for first place. It's a battle to not be last.
I'm pretty sure I won last year too.
You
so
did.
You did.
This is
You
a
did.
real.
I finished in the cellar 3 years in a row, so I'm just trying to beat you and Corey at this point. I'm not even trying
How
to
far
compete
am
with
I
Todd.
away from second to last?
You are 3 games back.
That's achievable.
It's a strong.
You're
week.
3
This is
games
a
back from
strong
Corey.
week.
You're 4 games back from me, and you are 14 games off the lead. So
Well, let's be realistic here, Bobby. That's not the game. That's not the game anymore.
right.
Yeah, 6 weeks to make up 14 games, Aaron. Let's go.
That's not what we're playing.
If you pull that off, I don't know
coming.
what I'll do, but I'll do something incredible.
Starts this week.
It starts this week, and it starts tomorrow night. With a matchup that you and I are both sincerely interested in.
The Cavs playing?
Yeah, I don't think Aaron has. There's
The
no
Cavs
more
did
sincere
drop their
interest.
first game to the Celtics last night.
Yeah, they sure did, but we were okay with that.
Apparently, Shaq and Chuck had a pretty big bet on that game. In the
It's like
millions of dollars
$50,000.
range. No,
Well, it was.
millions.
Oh, it was ended up going. I know that Shaq initially said he was going to throw $50K on it.
No, so they were on it's or whatever. It's inside the NBA, but I think it's what it's
Yep.
called.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is going to ESPN, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good thing that show's sticking around. It's a great show. But yeah, it was 2 million, I think, was the bet straight up.
Shit.
I think Shaq took the Cavs with like 4.5 points, and Chuck said no, and bet against him. So,
Well, I wish I had that money to lose.
right?
Yeah, right.
Not even to
Craziness.
lose it, but to just have it.
Just to have it, just to see what it's like. Josh, sorry, you said chat's record. My sincerest apologies. So, Tez is in the lead at 111-55. Pops is in second at 110-56. Ariel's in third at 109-57. You are at 106-60, Josh. And Ryan is at the bottom at 101-65. So overall, chat is absolutely wiping the floor with us. So well done, gentlemen. All right, yeah, tomorrow night. Now we got the Steelers on the road versus the Browns. Divisional matchup, AFC North. Obviously, there's been some hype in the media between Garrett and TJ Watt. I think they're trying to hype this Thursday game up a little bit, just to add a little bit of fuel to the fire in a game where I don't necessarily think most of us think it's going to be interesting. So.
Yeah, I mean, the only way it can be interesting, I still think the Browns can put up points with Jameis. I mean, you've basically seen, I'm sure you guys have seen it in your fantasy leagues. There's actually been a run on the receivers. Tillman, Moore, and Judy have actually been producing from that perspective. So they've been more exciting to watch with Jameis, even though I don't think that they've necessarily played better, or certainly isn't reflected in the record.
Right.
But the Steelers are just that team that just doesn't matter who they're playing. They're going to drag them down and make them play their kind of style of football. So I kind of expect it to be, and here's the thing. We're also looking at rain in the forecast too. So just kind of unfortunate for the viewership at home. Like at the beginning of the year, this had the chance in week 12 to be a very meaningful game. Maybe the Browns are, 6-8, you know what I mean? Like 6-7 win range or something like that, where it's like, all right, this could be a little bit interesting. But it's just not. I got the Steelers obviously winning this one. I'm not going to spend too much time on it just because I don't want to bore the viewers and you guys too. But Browns are just going to be best to punt on this season. It is what it is. Let's go Cavs. It's basketball season, so that's really all that matters.
Yeah. Corey is taking the Steelers in this game as well. Don't have any comments from him tonight. Just picks. I'm also going to take the Steelers here. There's no reason to to pick the Browns right now, especially against the Steelers, who are defensively playing some very, very good football. Offensively, they're doing some nice things as well. They've been pretty consistent. Outside of last week when they just put up field goals against the Ravens, Ravens defense is very, very good. We had some opportunities to get in the end zone last week. Unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalize, but at the end of the day, we were still able to get points on the board and ultimately led us to a victory. I'm going to take the Steelers tomorrow night. God.
Yeah, I would say I think the Steelers just did a nice job of capitalizing on field position, right? Because I actually disagree with you. I think this is the worst Ravens defense that we've seen in a long time. I mean, they've been giving up a lot of points to a lot of teams. Pittsburgh's, and I'm saying that as a testament to how good Pittsburgh's defense is, because this was also the most high-powered offense in the league. It still is, and they held them to 15. So more of a kudos to the Steelers defense there. I'm not quite 100% still sold on what Russell Wilson and that Steelers offense is going to do as we get closer to playoff time. But I did say I do believe that they're a real playoff contender. If they end up winning the AFC North and also possibly by somehow the Chiefs get on a little bit of a cold streak, get the best record in the AFC, and they get a bye, and they end up facing somehow the Dolphins or the Broncos get in, like we're going to see them move past the first round for the first time in a long time too. So the Steelers defense is the best that it's been in quite some time. Like just watching that game.
Yeah.
You're muted, buddy. But I'm taking the Steelers too. I think something I did see from a positive from the Steelers offense was with Najee Harris not quite being 100% and Jaylen Warren being 100%, felt more like the balance of the backfield was right. And this was really the first game too where I've seen the Steelers offensive line play like pretty. I mean, everybody was pretty clean. A lot of positive yardage on the ground. So that's something, especially when you're talking about a team that's had some injuries on that front, and they're still doing a pretty good job because the Ravens do blitz a lot. They did a nice job of keeping Russell Wilson clean, besides him holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there's been a couple spots this season where Russell Wilson has thrown some absolutely beautiful balls on the sideline to George Pickens, and he had one last week against the Ravens as well. And then he also had a blunder where he rolled out to the right and had Darnell Johnson just wide open. All he had to do was just throw it low, and he lobs the ball, and it turns into a pick in the red zone, and just absolutely stupid play. So
that's his game. That's been his game for the last few years. So
yeah. So I mean, there's we see the greatness, and then we see the mistakes, and if he can continue to limit the mistakes, it's going to put us in a great position going into the the back half of the season. So I'll be interested to see if he can just kind of tighten those things up and move forward with that. So
Ariel's still sticking to the guns of the Steelers going to the Super Bowl. Look, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's all I'm saying.
I am just gonna keep a level head and just try to take it week by week, and I'm not gonna think too far ahead. We just gotta continue to execute week in and week out, and see where we get, man. We got a really, really arduous back half of the season, and we've got the Bengals twice. We got to play the Ravens again. We got the Chiefs. We got the Browns again. Divisional matchups are never
and the
a given.
Eagles too, right?
And the Eagles. Divisional matchups are never a given. I don't care if the Browns are playing the way the Browns are. Those games are never easy. I don't care.
No, and tomorrow with the rain, being a factor, that's just always an added element.
Anything can happen.
Chaos. Right. And I'm I don't think the Browns have a chance in hell, but like you said, there's division games. You see stuff like this, like you said with the weather. Todd called it out earlier, but if you're looking for any kind of angle in this one, I'm telling you, just take bets with Jaylen Warren, because the Browns cannot figure out any kind of offense that isn't right up the gut. So that's why you see Taysom Hill running for fucking craziness last week. I think the Steelers might get a little bit creative with him. Also, he tends to play well against us as well. So I'm gonna be taking a little bit of action there, and probably some pickings as well, just to hedge my happiness tomorrow.
There you go. All right, boys. Well, let's move on. We had the Texans who absolutely just embarrassed the Cowboys on national television at home against the Tennessee Titans. Titans coming off an L to the Vikings last week, so don't think we really got to spend too terribly much time on this one. But you guys have any thoughts?
I think it's an interesting, excuse me, it's an interesting race for that number one pick right now, fellas. That's kind of where I'm looking at the season right now. I'm looking at a race for number one, and then I'm looking at wild card. That's kind of where my eyes are in the NFL right now. And I think Tennessee's one of those teams that's very much so not afraid to just let it fall apart for the rest of the year and try to get as high as they can, and even possibly, be a trade contender up there. So, yeah, I'm taking the Texans. The AFC South stinks. So, Texans they're playing not. I think the interesting thing about Houston, though, and we're even like watching CJ Stroud in that game. Obviously, he didn't have to do a lot because they were able to run the ball so well, but he's still not. There is a difference from freshman CJ Stroud to sophomore CJ Stroud. So
it's definitely slowed down, but
yeah, I'd like to see him like have a good get right game, and I think this is a good week to have a get right game on Tennessee for him. Let him make some decisions and air it out.
Absolutely. Corey also has the Texans. I'm taking the Texans. Aaron, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, me too. I think looking at this schedule, I think you're going to see there's a lot of crap games this week, if just to call a spade a spade. So I won't spend too much time on it. Houston's right there in the playoff mix, of course. I think they're even a tier below the Steelers right now in that list of that hierarchy. Like, I think the Chiefs and the Bills could play with anybody. I honestly think the Steelers and I definitely put the Steelers above the Ravens and Texans, no doubt. So we'll see how the season plays out. But I think Houston's doing enough. But there's just something, I don't know about you guys, there's just something off with them this year where I thought they were going to take this step, and I don't know if it's just they're playing the exact same as last year, and when expectations are so low versus so high, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's just something off there with me. I'm curious if you guys feel the same.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think having them be seemingly tenfold better than what they were supposed to be last year, and then making the run that they did, and then again, I think it all kind of falls back to what CJ Stroud did. I mean, we hadn't seen a rookie quarterback do that ever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So for him to take a step back, we talked about it. It was expected, but it's. That offense was just so explosive, and everyone is kind of taken away. Penalties are not taking away these big plays that Houston was ripping off last year. It seemed like 3 or 4 times a game. Those aren't happening anymore, and they don't need them. I think the best thing for Houston is that and it sucks as a Bengals fan, but like having Joe Mixon has like tenfold made the Texans offense better. Yeah, having just a real true running back that can rip off 80 yards a game, right? He's doing a lot better than he has been statistically. He's been doing better than that basically every week, but he's just it's nice for Houston. I think that was a big if they would have even had him last year, I think with that offensive line, it would have even been a different story for them.
Yeah.
Sure. Arrow coming with a comment saying CJ Stroud is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. I'm not sure if I'm there.
Let's get the first Super Bowl first, and then
I think we need to see him get deep into the playoffs and win at least get deep into the playoffs to a Super Bowl. Not necessarily win, but at least needs to see it. If you're going to compare somebody to Patrick Mahomes, I would agree with Aaron. You got to at least have a ring on your finger. Before we can even start getting into that conversation.
Nico's back. Charlie's right, though. That's fun.
Nico's back. I come back to the same thing where like that offense is pretty much the same, outside of Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs, and one of them has been great and one of them has not been anything to write
Diggs
home
was doing
about.
just fine. He's injured. He's out.
So
he got.
I think if they can get back to the core of receivers that they had last year and the chemistry that they had without adding a big name into it, they can just go out there and play football and not have to worry about who's going to get the ball. I think it's going to make that offense flow again. So it's a good thing to see Nico back, and I'm just excited to see what they can do, with that original core. But that's just where I'm at. Moving on, we've got another divisional matchup in the NFC North this week. We've got the Vikings versus the Bears. So the Bears obviously losing a heartbreaker to the Packers last week. Block kick to end the game. It's not the first time we've seen it this season, and
that's actually one we didn't even talk about earlier with the kickers.
Yeah,
I know they missed it, but like that was a huge one.
Yeah, it's a huge one. I mean, but like the thing is, like I don't remember the last time I saw this many games get decided by a blocked field goal attempt. And I don't know if you guys saw the replay on that, but the center was just completely caught off guard. They're stacking one side and they're blowing him up and just getting somebody in there and throwing their hands up. Like it's just so like what's the mindset here if you're special teams? Like what are you doing to try to get in front of that?
So I think something interesting that I saw just like a short 5-minute clip on was the way that teams are lining up for field goals now. The guys on the interior are a lot more flat-footed than they were in previous years. That's like a new dynamic that they kind of run it. They're not running it necessarily as tight for a field goal, and these guys in the interior are flat-footed to try to prevent, like, I guess, people finding any way to try to go over the top, right? Obviously, it's a penalty now, but there are still guys that have the ability to do so. We've seen that this year as well. Sure. But the conversation was built around like just what you said. Like teams are just overloading one side, and if you catch two people flat-footed, that means somebody's getting in, right? So, these special teams coordinators are getting smart and running different looks to, field goal preventative, whatever you want to call it, field goal prevent, whatever you want to call it, and it's really interesting to see kind of the evolution because it's happening more. The thing that kind of came from all this is like it's happening more in college football too. There's more block kicks from from college to the NFL than there's been in, statistically, like basically in the last 30 years, there's more field goals being kicked or blocked, excuse me. So I think it's just special teams coordinators or there's somebody obviously started the trend and these guys are just trying to follow it. And, and I could see this being another thing in 2 years from now. We're talking about, hey, remember a couple of years ago where they were just blocking field goals every week? Well, now it's just not happening, right? Because every coach gets hip to it. But I think there's always continuous improvement in the locker room, whether it's players or coaches, and guys they're working on this stuff now. You got to figure out ways to impact games. And, obviously we've seen it change the outcome of multiple games this year. So, anything you can do to keep clawing.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd, so are you taking the Vikings or?
Oh God, I didn't even think about it. I forgot we were talking about games that we were picking this week.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna take the Bears this week, fellas. What I saw from Chicago last week without Shane Waldron was a more loose sideline. Caleb Williams was being dynamic again, which he hasn't done for 5 weeks. DeAndre Swift continues to run the ball very, very well. And after the really hot start for Minnesota, they've been the worst run defense in the league, ironically enough, which is weird because they were the best in the league for, the first 6 weeks. And the last, we're on 6 weeks. It's been one of the worst, bottom 3. So I very much see DeAndre Swift continuing to run the ball very, very effectively and kind of opening up the field to Caleb Williams. And I think if anything, what I've seen from Chicago is that Rome Odunze is going to be one of those guys in the league we're talking about very similarly to Mike Evans. That's my kind of player parallel for him, where super consistent. You know where he's at on the field. He's basically sure-handed as a rookie, which I think is a pretty rare trait for these guys. And this Bears defense is still tough, fellas. Obviously, it's a tall task, but they got the best corner in the league going up against the best receiver. So I think this is actually maybe actually honestly, this is probably the best matchup of the week. Yeah. So I could see this one being very low scoring, right? Like we're not going to be, we'll see some big plays, but
over under 39.5, at least what I'm seeing now. So
yeah. So give me the Bears at home. I think they're still trying to figure the NFC wildcard spots are a free for all right now, fellas. And the thing is that the Bears aren't quite out of the mix yet. And I think this defense keeps them in those games.
Aaron.
Yeah, boy, I really thought I was going to sneak a lone wolf in here. I'm gonna take the Bears as well. I think we're talking about them a little bit differently, and I saw the same things you were saying with the coach change in Chicago. Excuse me. If they hit that field goal, we're talking about, oh wow, what a win against the Packers. I think the team did enough to win that game, and you had an unfortunate way for it to end. But that's football. It's tale of inches and plays of haves and have-nots. I also think the Vikings the last 3 weeks have just not looked the same that they did to start the season with that win streak, and then they dropped 2, and hey, it was to Detroit and it was to Los Angeles. Like, those are respectable losses. I have no problem with that. But the way that they have looked like a different team against the Colts, Jaguars, and who was Titans. They don't seem to have that spark to start the year. I think Darnold's starting to come back to earth a little bit, and with a divisional matchup, I feel like this just has the makings of they swap a win here for on paper. I think the Vikings are the better team, but we'll look back at the end of the year and their records will look kind of what they should. Where I don't know. I think the Bears are going to sneak in a win here from a divisional opponent that I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Vikings still will. And I don't think they'll necessarily slide from here, but the last 3 weeks that I've watched them, it just seems like they've wanted to lose, but the opponent just hasn't been good enough to take it.
Right. I think that's a good point. The juice isn't quite there on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking the Vikings this week. I honestly, I need to see Caleb Williams actually have some great success in a game and not just one game after changing coordinators. He has not been good all season. He had a great game. I think he's had one good game in my opinion this year. Complete start to finish. Last week he played decent. It was enough to get them almost to the finish line, and they couldn't pull it out. He's still a rookie. He's still got a long way to go, and I'm gonna take the more experienced team here with the Vikings, and it's just no other reasoning other than I just don't trust Caleb Williams at this point to get it done. So show me one more week, and then maybe we can talk about it. That's where I'm at. So.
Like I said, I think the Vikings should win this game.
They should. Yeah. I think it's a good game to take a flyer.
But if I thought every week would go chalk, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. So you got to try to find the ones where you're like, all right, I see. This is what, a 3-something spread, probably. Yeah. And yes, division matchup, man. They're always tough. I think it's in Chicago too. Yeah. So
it's interesting.
I just think the slate isn't very good. So where can you find a little bit of value of taking the underdog?
Yeah, Same. Absolutely. This is a good one. So, well, moving on to a matchup where I don't think there's going to be a lot of wiggle room. We've got the Commanders at home versus the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Aaron's face says it all. Does anybody want to take the Cowboys?
Cool. It's so cool. The Cowboys are so bad. It's so cool. I'm having such a good time with it.
Yeah, it is pretty sweet. Real quick on the Commanders, though, I think some of the criticism is a little fair of, hey, they haven't been playing, well against good opponents. Again, I think this tracks with what we've been saying all year. We're this is how I'm feeling about the Texans from last year, right? I think Jaden Daniels is still a rookie quarterback, but this is the way. Is Cooper Rush still playing? Is Prescott out for the year? I haven't.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
Yeah,
he had
good.
hamstring
Don't care.
surgery.
Fuck him. Not him personally. I don't really have a problem. I more so meant the Cowboys. But yeah, I got the Commanders here all day. I actually think they're gonna beat the brakes off them.
I do too.
I think really good against bad teams.
This is a Dan Quinn power game for sure. This is him coming back, and there's obviously no love lost between him and Dallas. It's not like he got the job and they're like, fuck Dan Quinn. But as a head, this is Dan Quinn's second chance. He's going back to the place where defense ultimately kind of blew up for them last year in the playoffs against the Packers. I'm sure you guys remember that. I mean, completely fell apart. So I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And just another thing to note for Dallas, if I were in a leadership role, I would be playing Trey Lance right now to make him the most valuable thing that I have to trade.
Yeah.
And they're not, which is crazy. Either Trey Lance has no idea how to be a quarterback in the NFL, or he's just gotten the worst shake in the league. Like, I don't get it. Why are you throwing Cooper Rush out there? You're not going to make the playoffs.
He's already had his shot.
Trey Lance? Or
Cooper Rush. He's already had his shot to play quarterback.
Well, right, and you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not winning. Right. It's not like games are close, right? Like, give the guy a chance to get on the field and get some game experience. And worst case scenario, like, he comes back as a backup again, and at least you know what you got. Like,
what incentive does the head coach have to play the young development player when he's probably not going to be there next year?
Right, I hear what you're saying.
So just fire him.
Right,
like that's what I'm saying. Fire him. Just
blow it up.
Yeah.
Just I think I mean. Ownership in the NFL, we've talked about it a lot, sometimes gets in the ways of team success. There's not any success on the horizon for Dallas this year. You might as well just see what you got. See what you got. Give it every look that you could possibly get. Maybe somebody comes out of it, you've got something there, and you can work with it, right? So, I mean, good, great. I mean, Cowboys fans are hoping that the Yankees sign Juan Soto at this point, right? Or that the Lakers win a title. So they're not even thinking about being Cowboys fans anymore. But
that's hilarious.
It's nuts. It's just nuts to not give the dude a chance. Like it like obviously you can see like it bothers me some to have that guy just sit there and be on the sidelines and do nothing.
The only scenario that makes sense is he really is that bad.
Yeah, that's what he has to be.
Like, we're obviously not sitting there at practice. Like, that's obviously a possibility. But otherwise, I'm with you, and I think it's just negligence.
Yeah, and I think they even signed Will Grier too, and he's been like moving up the depth chart. I don't know. He has to be bad.
Yeah. Everybody's got the Commanders. I don't think we need to spend too terribly much time on that. We can move on to another divisional matchup once again. We've got the Dolphins taking things on the road versus the Patriots. Mama, thank you for liking the video. Dolphins are at home taking on the Patriots. Tua's back. Tua's healthy. Dolphins have looked pretty solid the last couple weeks. Taking on a Patriots team that is, quite frankly, not very good. So, Mr. James is taking the Dolphins this week. Like I said, no context with those picks, but he's got the Dolphins this week. I am also going to mirror that pick and take the Dolphins. As long as Tua is healthy, they, regular season wise, they are a wonderful football team. So we got to see the Dolphins get the running game going last week, which was something that they did very, very well last year. And the Patriots have not been, for the most part, great defensively. So I'm going to take the Dolphins here, at least 10-point spread. So,
going above the spread. I think the spread's 7 right now.
Yeah, I would take the Dolphins plus minus 10.
It's fair. I mean, I got the Dolphins too. I think the shining point for New England is that Drake May is, I would say, ahead of schedule and what you need him to be an NFL quarterback. Obviously, the mistakes are still there, and when they drafted him, I don't think the plan was to put him out there and expect him to win games. But I think like New England's offense, there is something there. It's just not this year that it's going to be there. There's still a lot of missing pieces. Their offensive line's bad. It's banged up. Their defense is bad. But Drake May been, like, again, exceeded my expectations for the year. Again, Raheem Mostert just doesn't exist for the Dolphins, which I think is weird. I know Jalen Wright came back from, whatever injuries he was dealing with. But, if we're going to throw a fantasy spin in there, Jalen Wright, if he's on the waiver wire, that might be a decent one to pick up for the back court, the back third of the season.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually think this is a perfect season so far for the Patriots in the sense that you're seeing what you've wanted out of Drake May. I'm a fan. I didn't really think I was going to be. I actually think he's got it in the first little bit that I've seen. And what I mean by that is he's showing it. It's fun. It's exciting as a fan. And you're not necessarily winning these games, but they are competitive in them. I think, like Todd had said, they're ahead of schedule. I don't mean to I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I just think it's a fun little season for the Patriots fans. You're going to be right there with the top pick, but at least you can be confident in the quarterback. I would take the Patriots to cover this, but no, the Dolphins will win. Everyone does it every year. There's always one player where they're like, well, most valuable player. What does that mean? Is Tua the most valuable player? No, of course not. But they are night and day fucking team.
Yeah.
With him in there, and yeah, they'll be fine here. But I think this could be a little chippy.
Yeah, very much could be. No, we've seen some pretty solid play out of the rookie quarterback class this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for the most part, it's been impressive. It's been one of the better rookie QB classes that we've seen in the last little bit. So
I think they've all flashed.
Yeah. We've definitely seen some flashes of greatness from all of them. We've seen some more consistent than others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I would say that most of the rookie QBs that were drafted this year are going to be perennial starting quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah, this is the best group since the Burrow Herbert class, right? I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say that.
Absolutely.
And you don't even have Penix or McCarthy.
Right.
Yeah, and McCarthy obviously hurt, and
Penix is backing up Cousins. Still hate that pick.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, and Atlanta hasn't been playing some great football over the last couple of weeks. So lucky this week they got a bye. They got a week to figure it out. But moving forward, we now have 0 unbeaten teams in the NFL. Chiefs went down last week to the Bills. Don't think that's going to last too terribly long as they are on the road versus the Panthers.
They're going to score 60. I'm just kidding. They're not going to score 60, but they're going to come back for blood.
Yeah,
this is a gross game.
Chiefs.
Yeah, they're gonna come back and just. I mean, it'll be fucking Lions Jags all over again.
I don't even care what everybody says. I'm just putting everybody down for the Chiefs, and we're gonna move forward.
Anyone, let us know if you're taking the Panthers. Otherwise, we're just gonna put it down for Chiefs and move to the next one.
2,000 word with 16 references on why.
Yeah. Cite your sources,
please. Yeah, anyone taking the Panthers will require 2-step authentication.
Drop your pass key in the chat. We'll see where it goes.
What did you have to used to do with your bibliographies? What was it? There was a certain like APA or MLA APL. Format.
MLA or APL, yeah.
Good God. Shout out college. I've never used that in my life. All right. So this week we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off of a bye week. Prior to that, they lost 3 one-score games in a row?
Yeah.
Just absolutely brutal.
And they were all dogfights too.
Right. Yep. So they lost 23-20 to the 49ers. They lost 30-24 to the Chiefs. and then they lost 31-26 to the Falcons. Like
Yeah.
3 straight games, less than 6 points or less, and just devastating. But on the plus side, they had a bye week. They had 2 weeks to prepare for the Giants.
Did they though? Because maybe they had time to
Yeah.
prepare for Daniel Jones. It's a whole different conversation, baby.
Right? Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, back in
Tommy
the
in the
Cutlets
fold.
is going to be
Back in the
walking
fold.
down to the stadium
Back in the fold.
full.
Yeah, passing Drew Lock on the depth chart. Just fucking. It's they signed Tim Boyle. Daniel Jones is the 4th string quarterback.
I heard somebody make, and I forgot who, but they made a really good argument of having him leapfrog Lock though. How else can you tank while selling more tickets?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
You don't want
This-
wins here, but people are going to come out and just do this and have fun with it. And you know what else? He'll probably win a couple games, and that'll suck. Because really, if you really want to bottom out, just keep Daniel Jones in there. It's working just fine.
Yeah, it's not like you had to make any changes to the way your offense runs right now. Right? Like they're not productive.
Part of me really wants to take the Giants here, guys. Not like
Yeah.
every time there's either the new coach theory or whatever.
Absolutely not.
But-
I'm taking the Buccaneers all day, twice on Sunday.
But guys, hear me out. What if?
Nope.
What
I'm not
if
gonna listen to it.
Daniel Jones is that bad?
Meaning like this team works better without him.
Dude, we saw the Browns beat the Ravens at just with Jameis walking in. And it's just different. And people are excited. And
Do it.
I'm not
Do it.
gonna.
Here's the thing.
Do it.
If Drew
if
Lock
it was against a
going out on
worse
the field,
team, I would.
I wish
Yeah.
I was dressed up as Ben Stiller and Starsky and Hutch. Do it. Do it.
like if we were watching Drew Lock come out, I could even kind of get in. I could get in that corner. This is an intentional tank.
Yeah. I don't think I got a good defensive line. Neighbors. Yeah. No, I'll take the Bucks.
I understand that Tommy DeVito won 3 games in a row last year, and that was really exciting. But also, he had a game where he didn't have positive passing yards until the 4th quarter. So that happened last year as well.
Giants +6 though. I don't know.
Luca Brasi said he would come back for this game. Oh shit. Yeah, the Buccaneers are way too good to have the record that they have.
But their defense sucks.
yeah, just the Buccaneers are a
But
lot
their
like the
offense is,
Bengals.
yeah. I mean,
Like
Aaron, it sounds like
electric.
Carp's in your corner, Aaron. With the QB changed, look what's happening.
I'm doing it. Fuck it. Change it. I'm taking the Giants, dude. I'm going Cutlets.
Lock it in, Giants.
I'm in the basement. That's where you keep the cutlets, in the second freezer.
Okay. Good luck, sir.
Thanks. It's stupid, but you got to take some swings here, dude.
Gotta take some
Take some
swings.
swings, baby.
Gotta
Take
take
some
some swings. There's no better team to take a swing against. They lose the most heartbreakers out of any team in the NFL outside of the Bengals. So,
They got to throw out all that work on Daniel Jones. They spent a week and a half on it.
you really have to prepare that differently, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One's insanely incompetent. The other's Italian. So
Yeah.
Hey,
figure out who I'm talking about.
plus 150 in New York.
that's so funny. Carp, it's good to see you, man. Thank you for your feedback. It is duly noted. The next game on the slate comes from a team who gave an absolute ass whooping last week. If you would have parlayed 5 different Lions to score a touchdown, it would have hit. It would have hit, and you'd be a lot richer than you are right now. Unreal. They put up 50 points. They scored on their first 7 drives of the day. Touchdown, 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 and so on. They play the Colts on the road. at Lucas Oil. What are your thoughts, boys?
I mean, it's Lions until further notice. Again, I think I've said multiple times, just go ahead and pencil them in every week. Just save yourself the time. It's Lions against everybody. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. I think this could be a really fun game, though. Obviously, the Lions are just fun on their own. They seem to not care about running up the score, which I love personally. One, is someone who's heavily invested in them in fantasy, and two, as somebody who's just a big fan of football.
Yeah.
It sucks when it's like, okay, great, they're up 28-0, and it's like foot off the gas. Then the second half of the game is just no. It's always fun to watch Lions football. I don't care what the game situation is. And Anthony Richardson, better or worse, does some weird shit on the football field. I'm excited to watch this one.
Fun fact, I had Jared Goff, David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs all in one league, and I lost.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
probably a low percentage of people that did that.
yeah, because I have scored the second most points in that league, and I've had the most points scored against me in 3 different leagues. Or I'm like
Yeah,
1-2,
that's always rough.
1A, 1B. Like, just been a brutal fantasy season for me. But we don't have to go there. We'll keep this a positive chat. I'm also taking the Lions this week. I don't see any reason why anybody else would take the Lions. Todd, what are your thoughts?
Good luck to Anthony Richardson against this Lions defense.
Do you guys see
They're
Aiden
gonna- they're-
Hutchinson like working out in the pool? Did you guys see that video?
Yeah,
No,
he's like swimming.
I didn't see it.
He was like jogging like in a pool. Like the dude's already putting pressure on that ankle.
He'll be back strong next year. I think he'll be a very
Or like
strong
lower leg.
defensive player of the year pick. But he's got a long way to go. But it looks like he's doing
Yeah.
well, which is great.
Also, Zadarius Smith played. I mean, again, I understand the level of competition they played, but like Zadarius Smith played very well in his debut for the Lions as well.
Yeah, he's revigorated for sure. And I can only imagine just from a locker room change standpoint, Lions are having fun. Like if there's anywhere I would want to be shipped off to, like, and Dan Campbell is just like, we're gonna score 52 points on their head. I don't really care the game situation.
Dan Campbell's the best coach in football right now. I don't care who you are.
Dude, they're on a mission right now.
Yeah, they want. This is. I really do believe that this is a franchise that, obviously, even their fan base has been so teeter-totter because of the lack of success they've had for stretches at a time. Where I think that they're just trying to put a stamp on football and show them that this is how the NFL should be. If you're a good team, put points on the board.
Yeah.
Even if you're up by 40, put pressure on the quarterback. Make people
Absolutely.
make mistakes.
It's the
Like,
professionals. You don't quit. Keep your foot on the gas.
This is how, like, when you're young and you're taught how to play football, this is what they want you to do. It's full speed all the time. And that's what they're doing. They're providing a true service to their fans. And I think it's great. Like, Lions fans have to be the most delighted people in the United States. Like, can you imagine being a Lions fan right now? I'm so jealous. I'm jealous of them.
I think they're the adopted America's team of the year for sure. Like the legitimate one.
Absolutely.
They're the one that has the highest approval
Like
rating.
if your team's not in it, like you're rooting for the Lions.
Amongst legitimate diehards of other teams, I'm talking the three of us, like we're very deep in the mud of our teams. I would consider all three of us diehards for a specific team. The Lions have the highest approval rating, I would say, of all of people that you would describe as diehards.
There's just nothing about them that you can really dislike.
Yeah, you're just like, good for them.
Top to bottom, they're doing everything right.
They're exciting. They have like legitimate, interesting characters on their team. They also have we haven't won it in for goddamn long or ever thing behind them, which is just it's kind of like the perfect storm of a team to root for.
Ariel, thank you for the 20 stars, big dog.
Thank you, sir.
So, Carp, I would like to address your comment. Todd did not say the Steelers are going to win the AFC North. If I remember correctly, I don't think anybody picked the Steelers to hit their over this year, except for me.
We did. You and I had the conversation separately when we were watching football together at the beginning of the year.
Was I drunk?
Said, good chance. I mean, yeah, we were. It was. Yeah, we had been drinking, but we did have the conversation.
Were you for the over/under pod?
Oh yeah.
Well, then what's the difference?
What am I not?
But I'm just kidding. No, we
Carp, I think going into this year, there was a lot of skepticism going into our teams, especially my team. We had a question mark at quarterback. We had no idea what was going to play out with the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields scenario. And, if I came into it with this confidence of, the Steelers are going to win the AFC North, then like I would have been lying to you, like personally. Like I just didn't think they were there. Granted, are they there now? And do they have the ability to do it? Absolutely. But just because I have doubt in my team doesn't mean I'm not a fan. And I think that, being a Bengals fan, I know you guys have had a tough season, but like you guys still have a lot to be positive about. You guys have the best quarterback in football. You got the best receiver in football, and I don't think any of that's a question at this point. But to question fandom based off of an opinion going into a season is, I don't think that's completely fair. So I know you're just trying to start shit, but I did want to address it. So we love you. We love you, Carp. All right. Lions are going to kick shit out of the Colts. Moving on. We've got Bo Nix, best rookie quarterback in the class so far.
Better than Jaden?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, for sure.
I think I'd rather have Jaden.
I think long term I'd rather have Jaden, but if we're just talking straight results this season, I think Bo Nix has been the better quarterback. I think with what he's had to work with.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think before we hopped on, I think Bo Nix, there is a scenario or universe where it's just this is the Mac Jones season. Like it's fine, it's cool. Like I think he's doing well. I also think this is the older quarterback in the class. He's going to come in and be a vet basically right away, and we're seeing that. I don't know the ceiling's that high.
So you're saying that Jaden Daniels ceiling, like
Daniels
and Caleb Williams. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I will say though, if we're talking offensive rookie of the year, he's my vote right now. And that's electric. Yeah, and that's really just built around. He's been, once he got his sea legs in the NFL, he has been if we're not talking about top three quarterbacks, he's been the most consistent quarterback too in the NFL. I mean, as a whole, I'm not talking just rookies. As a whole, he's smart with the ball. I think one thing that he's shown that obviously, I think we saw some of it in Oregon, but they just scored so fast it didn't matter. He's extremely mobile. I didn't realize how mobile he was until watching him this year. And his ability to stretch the play with his legs is what's kind of given the Broncos offense a major lift.
I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is even in the question for rookie of the year right now.
I think
he hasn't been healthy enough, number one, and like he hasn't put up the stat line to remotely get in the conversation.
I think it's Jaden and Bo.
Yeah. Yep. Even I even think before Brian Thomas Jr. had some injuries, I think you could have thrown him into that conversation as well, just because of his dynamic in Jacksonville. But if you're looking again, I'm looking at this as offensive rookie of the year, impact to the team, statistics, all of those things together. I think Bo Nix has had the greatest impact thus far to their success. I mean, they put 38 on Atlanta last week, right?
Yeah, it was it literally caught that Denver defense is nothing to be messed with.
Aaron called that out week 1 or 2. This
defense, they're fucking great, man.
It's unreal, dude. It's a top 5 defense. Easy.
I'm really upset called that, Aaron, because it screwed me over last week. I needed Kirk Cousins to have a regular ass game. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, at worst, at the beginning of the year, the Broncos were a trap.
Yeah.
and they're playing legitimately good football now. It's interesting that we're talking about the rookie of the year race between Daniels and Bo Nix, because I think both of these teams take a pause, not who has more momentum right now, which I would say is the Broncos, but just take a pause of what we thought at the beginning of the year for where we are right now. Look at their records. I think they're both equally above the watermark that we set
For
for
sure.
them at the beginning of this year. And I think the Broncos have a little bit more momentum right now where we are in the season. So
Yeah.
I think this, you end the season right now. Yeah, maybe it is Bo Nix. I'm curious to see, though. I think it'll be exciting down the stretch as these young quarterbacks keep on showcasing what has been a great class.
For sure. Yeah, especially getting
I'm
closer to
taking the
playoff
Broncos,
time.
obviously.
Yeah. Yep. I will say though, I thought the Raiders offense looked the best that it has all year last week.
Dude,
And
Brock
that
Bowers,
was
man. Speaking of rookies,
that's where I was getting to.
sorry.
Brock Bowers is somebody. Yeah, no, you're fine. I was going to say Brock Bowers is someone that you have to throw into this conversation of offensive rookie. It's overshadowed by how bad the Raiders are, but Phyllis, he's immediately gone in and arguably the most sure-handed tight end in football.
Yeah.
Like, you get the ball in his vicinity, he's on it. And he's really good yards after catch, which is like makes a tight end elite. Right? It's not a catch and get down.
It's wild how, the last 2 seasons we've had some really stellar rookie tight ends. Like last year is Laporta.
Yeah.
This year it's been Bowers.
And we used to always say, don't ever, take rookie quarterbacks in fantasy because they take 2, 3, 4, some of them 4 years to even like fully integrate into the tight end position in the NFL. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I could go back and do it all over again, Brock Bowers would have been an absolute steal in the 6th or 7th round, even 8th round at a fantasy draft.
Yeah.
Just
it is interesting though. I think the tight end position has changed so drastically where 5 years ago, Kittle, Kelsey, like Mark Andrews, those guys, their careers obviously Kelsey was already deep into his success by then, but we saw this resurgence of the tight end of not just being a relief valve for quarterbacks, but being a top target, right? Like that was
a
a new
playmaker.
thing. Right. And that's existed over time, right? Like we've had Antonio Gates, we've had Tony Gonzalez, we've had guys like that previously, but to see it kind of, it's getting spread out through the league now. And there's more tight ends that are getting targeted, double digits a game than I think really we've seen, even with the guys like Kelsey and Kittle and those guys in their peak. Like there's 10 teams that have tight ends that you could make an argument as their second best ball catcher, which is crazy. Like I didn't even sniff Dalton Kincaid, right? Like I didn't even have to talk about him. So I think football
there's been a really
changed.
good young crop of tight ends as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Jimmy Graham too, Josh. Thank you. That's who I was trying to get a third name out. And I drew a blank on him. I was going to say Kellen Winslow, but I'd have to say senior, not junior. But that's
Jeremy
Shockey. That wasn't a dig at the Browns, Aaron. Kellen Winslow is like one of the biggest disappointing tight ends. Yeah.
I don't have to defend it all. I don't have that kind of energy.
Yeah. But I like it though, because you're starting to see tight ends in college. Like this is kind of it's a weird connection. Like look at Harold Fannin for Bowling Green.
Yeah, I want him so bad.
Me too. He's leading college football in receiving yards, and I understand that Connor Bazelak is older than most of the quarterbacks in the NFL. Right? Whatever.
He's insane.
It's nuts. He's a 6'4", 240-pound wide receiver. That's all he is.
Yep.
And I think it's a testament to what the tight end position adds to value in the league now. Because that guy 4 years ago, going into college, even going to Bowling Green, we're not even talking about him sniffing the field, right? Or like what the impact is. But
at the beginning of the year, I was like, I think he'd be a sneaky guy to grab in like the 3rd, 4th round. That dude could go in the end of the 1st now, I think.
Yeah, he's a projected early second round
pick. And only reason I bring it up that way is because it's just not something that happens to my alma mater very much. So it's kind of cool just to have like a true difference maker.
Yeah,
he really does stand out though, like the Andy Reid next to the kids and like the punt, pass, and kick, where you're like,
Yeah.
that's not a Mac player. He stands out in the
Yeah.
same way. Like, you remember when Khalil Mack was on Buffalo, and you're like, wait,
Absolutely.
who's that guy?
Yeah, or like when Corey Davis was
Yeah,
at Western
Corey
Michigan,
Davis,
you're like,
yeah.
what the hell's going on here? How do you end up in the MAC? No, you're right. I think it's just a testament to how much offense in football has evolved too.
Yeah.
Like these tight ends that are real, true impact guys that are making catches when it matters. And obviously, Sam Laporta has been dealing with injuries all year, so he also just hasn't had to be that guy because everyone else around him's healthy.
Doesn't matter. Jameer Gibbs is
yeah.
going to run for 100. Dave Montgomery's going to have 3 touchdowns. Amon-Ra is going to catch 10 for 125.
Right.
Like,
But it's
who
cool.
gives a
I
shit?
like the tight end position in the NFL has always been like, it's the steal of the offense, right? It's unbreakable. These guys get the shit kicked out of them because they're chipping on edge rushers. They're getting into the open field and blocking. It's nice to see these guys. Like, I'm interested to see what tight end contracts look like for some of these guys we're talking about. Like, what is Sam Laporta going to get paid? And what is Brock Bowers going to get paid? And what does that market look like in 2 years from now? Because if we have $100 million wide receiver, $100 million tight end, like over Kittle's contract, over Kelsey's contract, let's say $45 million a year for a tight end, that's gonna break football. Like teams aren't gonna know what to do.
They're gonna
interesting though.
have to adjust the salary cap.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see the salary cap keep going up, but I think what'll be interesting is, it really does end up being a little bit of supply and demand too, where not to compare it directly to running backs because theirs is more wear and tear. But if you have so many good tight ends, it kind of lowers the value of being a top tight end. You know what I mean? Like you see different levels of tiers for wide receivers. And I think you might start to see that a little bit more defined in the tight end position. But, it's something like even with like quarterbacks now, it's like there's 15 guys, I think, that are like teams think that they can win with for sure. So I don't know. I love seeing the tight end position though. It's really fun to watch because they're out there laying some big blocks, obviously they're the best athletes on the field, I'd say overall. Ooh. I think they could play the most sports.
That's an interesting take. I don't disagree. I think they're kind of
baseball, just hitting dingers. Basketball, we've seen it. Like we've seen basketball players just be like, I play football now.
Yeah, Antonio Gates did it.
That's what I'm saying. And they usually play tight end.
Tony Gonzalez, except for Julius Peppers. That was pretty cool when he played back. I mean, I hate North Carolina, but when he would just fucking destroy people going up to dunk because he was 6'6", 290, just playing center in the ACC. That was
just because he could.
Did you guys ever have like not flag day? What was it, like home days or whatever? Where it's like for school, you just did all the activities outside, like the sack race, the like
field day.
Field day. That's what I'm trying to think of. I want to do NFL field day. All the positions are different grades though. Tight end sweeps. Tight end sweeps.
That would be like if they did that instead of the Pro Bowl, where they did all like the skill challenges, where it was just like all the like best positions, like all the positions together, but the best in the positions going against each other.
Yeah, that'd be sick. That's a great idea.
I want to see.
You need to pitch that to good old Roger.
I do. Can you imagine a wheelbarrow race, but it's George Kittle on his hands? It'd be stupid.
Oh shit! All right, let's move on to this next 4:00 matchup. We got the Seahawks coming off of a close one last week against the 49ers. Cardinals had a bye previous week. They absolutely roasted the Jets. This potentially could be a pretty good game. Could be a good game. We are after the release of Black Ops 6, so Kyler Murray has played pretty well, all things considered. So he did have a bye week to get all those games in. So, hopefully he's prepared this week. We'll see.
Did you guys see him making a video in New York eating pizza and just some random dude was standing next to him? They're like, this guy has no idea he's standing next to a $250 million quarterback in the NFL because Kyler Murray's just a normal looking 5'10" guy.
He just looks like a regular dude.
New York. Yeah. It was pretty funny.
That dude was taller than him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
By like a good bit. Like, he's probably
Yeah.
like 6'2", 6'3". Like,
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. That was funny. That's a good point. I didn't even think about it, that being a funny part of it, but that's very funny.
yeah,
It's like
that's why I laugh so hard. It's like,
quarterback in the NFL next to just a guy eating pizza, and he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." I'm like, "You- you're sitting
What'd
next
you
to
get? What'd you get?
yeah,
Oh, I got a
yeah,
pepperoni and a
sitting next to
regular.
a Pro Bowl quarterback." So
Crazy. Yeah, we got Seahawks at home versus the Cardinals. Corey has got the Cardinals this week. Corey is he's going against the old Call of Duty method. So interesting. I'd love to hear his thoughts on this. But
Corey's also going on the it's the last week to bet on the bird before you cut it philosophy.
yeah,
He
And
is.
so am I. Guys, the Cardinals have won 4 in a row, like quietly. Like they're playing pretty good football and they're playing as a whole unit. I just don't think their sum of all parts is the best, right? Like I think they could sneak into the playoffs. I don't necessarily think they're a team that can make some noise. But I think the Seahawks have had a crazy level of variance. And I'm actually surprisingly more confident in what I'm going to get in the Cardinals in this game. I don't get me wrong. The Seahawks can very much win this game. It's a division game, but I think most people are leaning Seahawks in this one, and it's fair. I don't think that that's necessarily not going to happen. But Seahawks have dropped some games that they shouldn't have. There's a 30% chance that they're going to just be the drop a stinker like they have in other games this year, and I think the Cardinals are going to come out and give you a valiant effort.
Sure, Todd.
yeah. I'm gonna take the Seahawks here, and
Damn
the
it.
only reason I'm taking Seattle is they got to play Arizona again in 2 weeks on the road. Right. And Tez brought up my point that I was getting ready to make is that they haven't won a game off a bye week in like years.
They're due.
Years. Right. Just by process of no. But I think the win against I want to say this too, like the win that Seattle had against San Francisco doesn't really hold much water with me right now. Because I don't think San Francisco's I don't want to say they're not good. They're not San Francisco from the previous 3 years. Right.
Yeah.
So that game doesn't hold a ton of water with me. But I will say, I think the one thing that Seattle did last week against San Francisco that I think that they can do against Arizona as well is that they can continue to get into good field position and force turnovers. Like Kyler does turn the ball over a pretty decent click. He's prone to a fumble when he's scrambling. I think Seattle can capitalize on that. So I'll take him at home here, but in 2 weeks when we pick this game again, I'm taking the Cardinals at home. I don't care how many birds are cut.
Yeah, that was going to be my point exactly. Was that this is a home game for them, coming off a bye, taking the Seahawks here. I thought I was going to have this one by myself because I thought everybody was going to fade it, but taking the Seahawks. So we are split. Chat's taking the Seahawks as well. So
Aaron's basically the lone wolf, I think. Then, right?
Corey is also taking.
He took the Cardinals. That's right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Corey's taking the Cardinals. So next game, I could see a lot of splits on as well. We've got the 49ers taking things to Lambeau, taking on the Packers. Good game here.
Yeah, I was gonna say this might be the only, well, not the only, but definitely one of the better matchups this week.
Definitely, I would say probably the premier matchup at 4:00, maybe outside of Eagles Rams. Got the 49ers on the road versus Green Bay. This is a tough one. Packers obviously coming off a pretty close win last week against the Bears. 49ers coming off a tough L against the team we just talked about. So Christian McCaffrey still getting back in the swing of things. Man, this is going to be a good one. Sorry, I think I have to sneeze. We're good. Oh, God. I hate that feeling.
Yeah, that's never fun.
It is the worst. All right. Aaron, lead us off. 49ers, Packers, who you got?
Yeah. I think both these teams feel like, again, something's just a little bit off for them.
Corey's taking the Packers, if that helps.
Sure. I think both these teams had Super Bowl aspirations at the beginning of this year, and I think right now both these teams are fighting to be involved in the playoffs, or at least make a run or be involved past that first round. I'll take the Packers here. I mean, we talked about how, we were a blocked field goal away from talking about, hey, what a good win for the Bears. And so reversely, what a bad loss for the Packers. But give me the team that sneaks away wins, I guess,
So I am going to take the 49ers here. I think we've seen a couple weeks of Christian McCaffrey trying to get back into the swing of things, and I think we see Christian McCaffrey finally do what Christian McCaffrey does best, and that is dominate football games. Although the Packers defense has been pretty good this year, Christian McCaffrey is just an elite player, and I think we're going to finally see him settle in a little bit, get a bulk of the workload, and kind of take this thing to the end. So give me the 49ers this week on the road. Yes, Tez, it is in Green Bay.
Fellas, this to me feels like I honestly believe that this game is not going to be as good as you guys think it's going to be. I really don't. I watched the entirety of that Seahawks 49ers game. I understand that Christian McCaffrey is getting back into game speed, right? This will be his third game back, right? But 49ers aren't going to have Nick Bosa, and not having him coming off the edge is debilitating to this defense. He creates so many one-on-one pass protection plays that they're not going to get. It makes them have to change the way they run their secondary. Like, he's just such an integral part of the way that they operate their defense that when he's not out there, or if he's out there in a limited capacity, whatever the circumstances are they decide to do with him, this defense just doesn't play well. And I think Brock Purdy's due for like a 3-pick game. It's been a while. It's about on the schedule for him. His last one was 5 weeks ago. It seems like it's about time for him to have like a really nice turnover game. And Green Bay's, I think LaFleur as a coach is the guy that can do it. And the guy, their defensive coordinator, he's from Boston, Hadley, whatever his name is. Like, he's the guy to draw it up. He's a real big point of Green Bay's defense being what it is, because this is not full of, top draft picks and, blockbuster players. Like, obviously Xavier McKinstry was a big signing for them in the offseason, and they have Rashawn Gary. So those guys are there, but this is built on guys that are undrafted free agents and sub 5th round picks. And they played very competitively. Yeah. And I think that offensively for Green Bay, Jordan Love has been turning the ball over pretty frequently post-injury too. That's a part of his game. Again, he's a risk taker, but I think the thing that Green Bay is going to kind of fall back on, which they did last week against Chicago, is they're going to just run Josh Jacobs. And they get Marshawn Lloyd back this week off of IR, which I think is a big piece for their running game to give Jacobs some relief too. So it opens up big plays for guys like Jaden Reed and Christian Watson again. So give me the Packers here at home. I don't expect this to be as good as it's kind of, I think, what people are anticipating it to be. I think San Francisco is one of the bigger regressions of Super Bowl to following season that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I don't know if it says more about the slate or not, even saying that, because even in my going through it, I'm like, both these teams just aren't doing what they thought they would at the beginning of the year. Like,
absolutely,
you know what I mean? Like, but still, I look at the rest,
right.
Like, I'd rather watch this than Broncos Raiders, or I don't know. There's some good. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some that are going to be, like we said, Lions Colts will just be entertaining.
Right. Well, and two, like, it's been like Green Bay's had to claw.
Monday night's pretty good too.
Yeah, Green Bay's had to claw out some wins too, right? Like, they're not doing things. They haven't been able to coast, right? Everything's been tight for them. So
I would say this is probably the hardest to pick, though, like, or the most evenly on both sides.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
All right. All right, boys. We are on to the Sunday night matchup. We've got the
waiting all day for Sunday night. I haven't got to do that yet.
It's all right. Even though Carrie Underwood does it better, she also makes a hell of a lot more money to do it. So
I don't have the legs she does. I think that's my problem.
Amongst
mean, you're
other
getting
things,
there.
yes.
You're getting there.
But
I don't see any other thing that we vary on other than legs. So that's fine. You guys have opinions. I have mine. Let's just pick the game.
Oh, I had a comment that's not appropriate for this, but it's fine. All right, we've got the Eagles taking things to the West Coast, take on the Rams. Eagles have obviously been hot as of late. The Rams, I believe they lost a tough one last week, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they squeaked one out over the Pats.
They squeaked one out over the Pats. It was the week prior that they lost the Dolphins on Monday night. So they had a short week. So that was what I was thinking of. So are the Rams healthy? I know that like receiver wise, I know it's kind of been up in the air between Puka and Cooper and all that stuff. So I'm just not.
They're firing on all cylinders. You're not missing any key players right now if you're the Rams.
Gotcha. How about for the Eagles?
Jalen Hurts randomly popped up on the injury report for this week, but other than that, I think they're pretty much they're fine. Other than that,
Roger that.
Good matchup for a Sunday night game, though.
Yeah,
really
very good matchup.
Yeah, Devontae was questionable too.
Yeah.
Ariel, I missed your pick for the Seahawks Cardinals. If you could throw that one in the chat for me as well.
He's got Cardinals. He's got Cardinals. I'm looking at it right here.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and put it in there.
Aaron, are the Rams the hardest team to judge in the league?
100%, dude. I have no idea what they are.
Like it's like 1 week they look like Super Bowl contenders, and then another week they look like bottom of the barrel.
I just don't know which team I'm gonna get, and the Eagles, they're 8-2. You know,
yeah.
And at what point are we gonna acknowledge that they're an 8-2 team? Because I'm still like, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on? Because I think
they are very explosive from an offensive side when it's firing. Like when their offense is rolling, they are one of the most electric offenses in the league. You know, they got a great running game with Kyren Williams. They obviously have one of the best receiving cores that you could put on the field, and Matt Stafford is not a slouch. So when it's working, but when it's not working, it's brutal. So
it is weird because there are like I think the Thursday night game when Puka came back, that offense hummed. It was like no miss anywhere.
Yep.
And then you watch games where they just like it's either slow or like I don't know, man. Like and from Philadelphia's side, this is a great running back matchup if you're gonna just get it down into positional terms. And I think like this could be this to me seems like a game where we're gonna see a lot of points, which is great for a Sunday night game. A lot of points on the board.
Yeah, this will be exciting.
I'm not ready to say that the Eagles are like Super Bowl. I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, obviously, they got to get past the Lions no matter what. But them and the Vikings both, they're 8-2, and it doesn't feel like they're supposed to be 8-2, right? We talked about Philadelphia being the biggest frauds in football 6 weeks ago, and
yeah, they must have heard us. Took it personally.
Well, they came off the. I mean, since they've had their bye week, they haven't. They've been
rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've put 25 points or more up since the bye week, right? Like, I mean, Cincinnati's defense is terrible, but I watched them make no mistakes offensively against Cincinnati, and similarly so did Dallas. So again, who's terrible, but they played Washington very tough. I don't think the score reflects that game the score doesn't reflect like the distance of that game. Like I never felt like Washington was going to beat them on Thursday, right? Yeah. It seemed like Philadelphia was in the driver's seat the whole time. It just seems weird. Something about Philadelphia. Maybe it's just how they've we're gearing up for last year's fall down, right? Like, because this was around the time last year where they completely fell apart. So I'm sure that's in the back of Nick Sirianni's mind, or he's just such a fucking egomaniac. He's just thinks that was a fluke. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him. He's great for Philadelphia fans, though. He's like the perfect Philadelphia coach.
Sirianni?
Yeah. Because he's just I know, but he's a fucking ego. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's perfect. They can take out all their aggression on him.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like that fan base needs that.
I don't think he's a good coach personally, but yeah.
I'm not saying he's a good coach. He's a good coach in
Right.
Philadelphia. That's my point.
So who do you got in this one?
I'm taking the Rams, fellas. I'm taking the
Okay.
Rams on Sunday night. I just Sean McVay is. I mean, we're talking about Dan Campbell being the best coach in football. I think Sean McVay is still, fellas. I really do, and I could see him just gearing up something pretty special for a Sunday night game for them. Because I mean, the NFC West is so wide open. You're gonna they're gonna have a matchup right beforehand with Seattle and Arizona, where that's gonna kind of decide how first place falls. And if they win, and even if everybody's 6-5, if everybody wins in the NFC West, they're all 6-5, right? So they have this game really matters to the Rams. I feel like even more so than it does for the Eagles.
Yeah,
like the Rams. This is not necessarily. I'm going to call it as close to a must win as it can be, without saying like this doesn't make or break the season for them. But if Arizona, if Seattle wins and San Francisco loses, then the only team that they got to match up against for the rest of the year basically is going to be Arizona, and we're not 100% certain on them either. I think that this is kind of a do or die game for them, where you're going to see them pull out all the stops. I think Matt Stafford in prime time is one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen play football. The dude just kicks it into a different gear in prime time. Give me the Rams on Sunday night. That's a gut.
That's a gut.
Corey is taking the Eagles here, Aaron.
Yeah, interesting points from Todd, and one I'm going to echo. I was looking at the Eagles, and I've seen them play a good amount this year for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just time slot wise or what. And
they've had a lot of 4:00 games.
Yeah, that might be it. And then the Browns played them, so obviously I watched that full game, and I was just curious. So I was like, I want to look at their record and really see. Obviously, they struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year, but they've put 6 together here. There's not really a single coach on that list where I'm like, yeah, well, that must have been a chess match. There's a couple on there, obviously I have respect for Stefanski. Even it was a 2016 game with Deshaun. Like it wasn't like they rolled us by any means. I think this is just from a coaching standpoint. I don't think Sirianni is a very good coach, and I obviously hold McVay in such high regard, and I think that's going to be the edge this week. I'm taking the Rams also. This is in LA. This is a night game. I just think the Eagles are due for a little bit of a slip, and I think the Rams are going to be ready to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You almost had me sold, Todd. Almost had me sold. Taking the Eagles.
That's fair. This is a good split game for us, honestly, on the panel.
I literally had my pick penciled in as Rams, and I'm just like, no, can't do it. I can't do it. I mean, this could be a very similar game to the Eagles playing the Saints, where it was just like the Saints somehow found a way to win.
You got the 2 best fantasy running backs in this. Well, besides, of course, Derrick Henry, but
he who will not
there will be eyes on this from a fantasy.
He who will not be named, Derrick Henry. I'm taking the Eagles this week on the road. I don't know. I don't feel good about it. That's all I gotta say. I don't feel good about it, but we're here, and that's just kind of what we're dealing with at this point. So,
yeah, this is a good low confidence game too. Like I think that.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to rank all of these games from a scale of most confident to least confident, this would be my least confident pick. 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely right, Todd. So, LA is going to be filled with Eagles fans. Well, that's just because LA is just not a great city of fandom. So, every LA game is a road game. Doesn't matter who you're a fan of. Lakers, Clippers, Rams, whatever. So, all right, boys. Monday night. Ravens, Chargers. This game is
So
also
I just realized this. SoFi is getting Sunday and Monday night, huh?
correct. Pretty wild.
Nice.
Pretty wild. Ravens
SoFi on
coming off
Friday.
of a tough L last week against the Steelers. The Chargers coming off of an absolute nail biter on Sunday Night Football against the Bengals. So both teams coming off of I guess a somewhat relatively short week, but both very, very, very close games. So, man.
I'll lead this one off.
Corey's got the Chargers. So
Okay, interesting. Yeah, the Ravens are 7-4. I think I'm even a little surprised to see that. For some reason, I thought they were a game worse, but maybe it's just a feeling. I thought I was out. Right? They pull me right back in with these fucking Chargers, man. I think they're good. I think you're seeing the Harbaugh bump. I think that's legitimate. I mean, you can take a look at any of his stops across college or pros. I mean, we see it, right? Like
this is a game of brothers.
He is a really good coach, and he seems to get the most out of his players. I think this is the best. This is the healthiest Herbert's looked in the last 2 years, but this is obviously the best he's looked as well. I haven't seen him scoot like that since his rookie year that we saw in this past week, and I just think they're playing more inspired football right now, and I'm gonna take the Chargers.
See, this is where I don't know, because on one hand,
We should mention the Harbaugh.
yeah, the Harbaugh battle. One of them has a Super Bowl and the other. One of them has a national championship and the other doesn't. It's like there's bragging rights in both corners, but I would feel really, really, really terrible taking the Ravens 2 weeks in a row and then seeing them lose. No, I wouldn't. I'm taking the Ravens. Fuck it. Taking the Ravens. Taking the Ravens over the Chargers. In regards, I guess this has nothing to do with coaching. This has everything to do with quarterback play, something we talk about consistently on this program. And Lamar Jackson is just the better quarterback. And that's where I'm going to land on this one.
I think that's fair. So from watching the Chargers Sunday night, I watched probably one of the better half performances of a quarterback I've seen this year in Justin Herbert in the first half of that game.
Yeah.
And then I watched him have probably one of the worst performances I've seen from a quarterback in the second half.
Yeah, it was certainly hot and cold. Yeah.
But the thing I think that that does play into the Chargers' benefit is they run a lot of zone defense, and Justin Herbert is very good at putting the ball like tight into his own defense. He did a very nice job of that. For whatever reason, I'm not going to get on my fucking soapbox. Cincinnati went back to his own defense on the last drive of that game after they ran man the whole. Regardless, Justin Herbert can play that. He could play that game. The Chargers have the best defense in the NFL. They held the best offense in the NFL to 27 points, something that Baltimore has not been able to do twice. I'm taking the Chargers here as well.
Wow.
I think what I saw from what I saw from LA last week, truth be told, I haven't spent a lot of time watching the Chargers because I didn't feel like that they were a necessity for me to watch in the AFC, right? I just didn't feel like that they were a team that felt like was going to impact teams come playoff time, whatever the circumstances are. That defense is unruly.
Yeah.
Jesse Minter might be one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, and he's a rookie defensive coordinator in the NFL. The amount of different looks that he gives on a defensive front it's a veteran defensive coordinator, the way that they run their ship. Their secondary is not even that good besides Derwin James. And I mean, I could very much see this being a struggle game for Lamar. It's very similar to how he played against Pittsburgh last week. They're not going to give him the opportunity to move it out of the pocket and make all these, that's where Lamar makes his money. The Chargers are not going to allow him to get out of the pocket and make all these moves. They're going to have to rely on Derrick Henry. That's the weakest part of the Chargers defense, is the run defense. If they want to, if Baltimore wants to win this game, Derrick Henry's got to have like 100 plus and a couple touchdowns. It has to be that from him, because that's the only way you open up the field for Baltimore against this defense. I feel very similar to Aaron that I'm bought into what the Chargers are kind of putting out on the field right now. I'm invested into it. I think that, if they get into the playoffs and they have a matchup against a team like the Texans or something, I could very much see them winning that game.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, if that's the way things shake out for them, they could get to the next round. And I think they're the best example of what a good coach does for a roster.
I mean, the Bengals were the first team to put up more than 20 on them, and that's because they do that against everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
it was only 27. It was a touchdown over what had been a ridiculous benchmark to start the year. I don't think we're talking about this defense enough, Todd. You're right.
Yeah, it's the best defensive football. I watched the whole game of it. I don't. It's been a long time. Honestly, probably since like Peyton Manning Broncos Super Bowl year, where I've watched the defense and thought, how do you score on them, right? Unless you have it like, a Joe Burrow to do it, like it's hard to get points on them. And it's the best red zone defense that I've seen, and even longer than that. I can't probably since like early 2000s Ravens. You get inside the 20 on the Chargers, they don't allow you in the end zone. It's nuts. Like, Jesse Minter is, and I'm sure Tez is loving me saying this, him being a Michigan guy, but like I think he's in the conversation for best defensive coordinator in the NFL to me right now. I don't think there's a lot of guys that are given the variety of looks with the amount of success that he is with the defense. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Got it. So, Aaron, you're taking the Chargers as well?
Yeah, again, another one where I thought I might sneak alone in here, and
I ended up being the lone wolf taking the Ravens.
Yeah. Life comes at you fast.
Sure does. Sure does. All right, boys. That's a podcast.
Yeah, guys.
Podcast, baby.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, next week, we may or may not have Corey back. We are not rushing him in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, you still got the little guy, just a little over a month old at this point. So obviously he's got a ton on his plate at this point in time. Hopefully we have him back, but if not, we all obviously understand why. But
I will be out. I have to go down to my sister's for Thanksgiving. So
okay. So you may have me and Todd next week. You may have me, Todd, and Corey.
It could be a saucy Wednesday for even me, because if you don't have to work on Thursday, I'm gonna be drinking.
Oh, and I will probably most likely be in a different venue. So I will be on the laptop with the AirPods somewhere else. So this could be very interesting.
Nice. I like it.
To say the least. And who knows? Could be ripping darts. We'll see.
Hacking away.
But anyways, chat, obviously, as always, best of luck to your teams. Best of luck fantasy. Stay safe, and we will see you guys next week. Enjoy. Deuces.
Bye.